Stream number 67 of this series where I am programming a game live on Twitch from scratch for the NES. One quick announcement before we get started here. I put this on Twitter, but in case you didn't see, I will be having on Thursday of this week, which will be November 1st, I will be having Bo from Soul Goose Productions on here to do a chat similar to what we did with Kevin from Khen Games. So if you enjoyed that chat, you should definitely tune in on Thursday so you can ask questions and find out what Bo's up to, how he got started, you know, just about anything. And it'll be, I think, one of the more well, I shouldn't say that. There's only been one other. It'll be a really interesting conversation. So anyway, let's get started. So last time we were fighting with trying to build a static library for the NES and the problems we were running into with that. And what it turned out to be is this definition file here. I don't remember why I thought I needed that for a static library, but I don't know. For some reason I did. And so basically what was happening was we linked that against this MFC-based front end for that code. And it was not linking. It was linking at build time, but then when it tried to actually run, it was having a problem because it was looking for a DLL which did not exist, which is to be expected because there was no DLL. It was a static library. And so I thought for some reason you needed to have a what's it called? A definition file for static libraries, but obviously not. As soon as I got rid of that, that fixed the problem. And so the plan was to get this code externalized into a library that we could then use moving forward. Oh, you know what? I should open the original asset tool also. So open binary file. Why? So many applications just immediately bombard you with requests to do things when you start the computer, instead of just letting you do what you actually got on the computer to do, which is annoying. I did not log on to do updates. All right, so let's these are the Win32 files. Now, I don't have anything specific to Win32 here, so let's add that. The idea would be that this is going to be portable. I mean, it's definitely not right now, but the hope is that it would become portable and be something that would be usable on Mac OS, Linux, whatever the case may be. So let's put all our Win32 code into here, and then let's see here. Asset tool hooks. Asset tool hooks. So this is all the stuff for the asset tool, but I didn't have that in here. Where did I put that? I just put that into NES asset lib. I think that will cover the majority of the type defs. Get file extension is not found, so we need files.h for that, because I think that, oh, you know, files, well, see, now we're going to run into a multiple definition problem here. All right, so let's add files.c, pp, include files.h, and let's move the implementation stuff out of here. So so this is going to be a problem for some of this stuff. You know what, maybe we can move this into the Win32 code also, because realistically that's what this is going to be. Let's delete this. So we have this stuff here. The reason I did that is because I want to include the Windows stuff before the header file. Oh, actually, you know what? That doesn't even matter, though, because that header file... that header file shouldn't reference anything that is platform-specific anymore. Okay, cool. So that's that, and then what doesn't it like about this? And if is missing, if def... oh. So that's that, and then, yeah, so then this we need to include, well, that's there already, so open binary file undeclared, open binary file, I thought I copied all of this stuff into files as definitions. Oh, I did not. Right. Some of the organization of this is gonna not be great. We'll kind of, once we have everything compiling, look back at this and see what makes the most sense. And yeah, I know I'm missing the semicolons. I'm just removing the implementations here so we can just get our forward definitions. And oh, I'm missing one. All right, so load current home. I don't think we actually need to even do that anymore because I don't think we're using that. Yeah. Let's comment that out. In fact, let's comment out both of these because we're not using that functionality anymore for the current home folder stuff. So we can get rid of that and get rid of all of that as well. We're just initializing our platform hooks now. System hooks unidentified. Where is that? That is in NES asset lib, and this is here. Oh, this is in Win32. Oh, well, it should. Yeah. Oh, yeah, so that's Win32 CPP. And that is... Oh. Except we don't need to do this twice. Let's say extern, because we want to define this as being a thing. And then we can go back and we can even put that in Win32 since that has to do with the system hooks, and actually implement it there. Okay. Yeah, we don't need this anymore. And then these NES asset tools defines, where are these? They're here. I can go in files.h since that's where they're needed. Oh, current home also can go away. Let's see. Syntax error. Missing a semicolon there. Platform initialize. Oh, I thought I got rid of that. Okay. Check for this whole thing can go out. This doesn't need to be there anymore. Okay. So that's building. And then here we have this stuff. And then we have platform initialize exported or made available through the header. All right. So now if we go back to this, we can do initialize platform, which I guess hasn't, or yeah. Try again. Already defined. Oh. Why? What? Why is it trying to build that? That's bizarre. Platform initialize already exists, already defined. Wait, do I have it in two places? Oh. So, oh, I'm looking at the wrong project. So yeah, I do have it twice, in there and in there. So let's get rid of it here. And then this is the new one. File exists unresolved. Well, you know, the other thing is, I guess, if we're doing... This is the wrong project again. I think the problem is the shouldn't have the inline. Let's get rid of this. Yep, and then replace file extension. Nope, there it is. That also had an inline. Okay, cool. So now this should load the meta tile properly. And which one? I did bumper. Did it actually load it properly? That looks okay. Let's see. Oh, it's not a pointer, it's just a struct. Okay. Yeah, that looks like that's got the right data. Just to be sure here. Yeah, okay, cool. So that's loading the meta tile properly now. So we're able to call that from here. And that means what we want to be able to do is load the project file first, and then from there load the map. So let's see. We have load map. Oops, I forgot the semicolon. Okay. And so let's do platform initialize and load project. And that takes path. Where are we here? Get file path. Okay, so that's right. So it's just getting get file path of put that into just piecing this together again using the new UI stuff. So the project file name is projects shooter assets. I think it's just shooter.txt. Yep. So I'm pretty sure those helper file things are not exposed. So let's fix that. Some of these are going to be useful to some of these will be useful to have externally. Did I not get? Of course I took a whole bunch, but not the one I needed. Can take that one over. Okay. So there's the library. Let's put it into there. And then put those there. I mean, technically, they have nothing to do with NES assets, but definitely would be useful to have. Get file path, get file name. Oh, okay. I had get file name already. Okay. Load project. Fortunately, I have to close the solution and reopen it for it to recognize those changes. All right, so current working path. Oh, I need to get all the content from that file. All right, so project content, max buffer. Let's just say for now, oh, stop it, 2048. So this is going to give us our map file name, max file name. Oh, right, this is the max file folder name. Project files, and then this is size project files. So map there's that. I just want to get this loaded here, and we'll define a maximum size for this shortly. And then project file, project files. Okay. And what is that? It is a UN32 size project files equals max file system items. And if not, I misspelled this. If not, load project, return false. I'm going to do message box. Could not load the project. Error. MBOK. MB icon warning. So let's just, if it fails to load the project, it will pop up a warning message here. So this is a project file pointer, and this is an array of project files. What did I do in the actual asset tool? Project file size, project file content, file size, map file full path, project files. Oh, I'm actually allocating a real pointer for that. Okay. Max file system items. Size of malloc, size of project file. Yep. Right. Okay, so it loaded the project. Let's just add I is less than project size, project files plus I. Let's just add the items to this list and see what got loaded. Files, come on, add string. Project files, I, file, full path. Oh, not L. No, that's for the, it's for the literal. We're not using multi-byte strings. Let's change that for the sake of my sanity for right now. what's the problem with this? Okay, didn't add anything. Let's take a look at why. 0. Oh, it didn't load anything because there's nothing in the file. Content, right. Open text. Well, so for this, because this is Win32, we can just go with the simple interface here. So project file content. No, project file equals if open. Let's just make this a constant right now. Project file and project file temp. We want read. Fseek our project file to the end so we can get the size. What does that return? That returns an int file size equals fseek. Or no, sorry, ftell is what we want, and that returns a long. And then go back to the beginning, and then read s. Come on. All right, so we want to put that into project content. Actually, I guess we don't really care. We do. Well, no, I guess we don't. 2048 project file. Let's make this fread_s, shall we? Because technically that's safer. So the buffer size is 2048. The element size is 1. The element count is, you know what we can do? We can do, well, yeah, we'll do that. So it'll read in as much as the buffer allows. And then we can say fclose project file. What is this? Okay. So let's see what we got now. 3. Okay, cool. All right, so those are the 3 PNGs that are in that project file. Those sprites. And then I think those have, let's go back to how this is working. So let's see, so we load the project, and then once that's loaded, we load the map, and then we iterate through. I feel like we could probably streamline some of this stuff. I mean, The other thing with all of this is, while I appreciate the fact that I'm able to look at a PNG and turn it into this visually and see the two things, I don't know. I hate to kind of go back and forth on this, because it's just yet another kind of way of wasting some time, or not wasting time, but just not working on the game directly. But as I'm thinking about this, do we need something that shows us this view? Are we better off? I mean, we're not building the map in this view. All we're doing here is we're able to swap colors for the meta tile palettes. We need a way to view the meta tiles. Am I better off? Here's what I'm thinking. And maybe I'm crazy. Also, I'm going to keep this as a shorter stream today. I've got a bunch of work stuff going on this week, so I'm not really able to stay up too late working on this stuff. But here's what I'm kind of thinking, right? The goal of any of these tools is to get us from, and I think I did this last time too, from point A, which is our raw assets, to something that the game can use. And then to put that into our 6502 binary that is playable. And we want this to be something that we're doing in the smallest number of steps possible. And while conceptually I like the idea of having this asset tool that lets us look at these things, I mean, short of being able to visually swap colors in and out of the meta tile, do we need this, or can we do something where it's like we have a new PNG and we just go from PNG to whatever format we want through some intermediary tool, right? Whatever that is. And make that command line and leave the visual stuff to something that actually needs to be visual. And then if we want to do something like even what spawned all of this, where we said, okay, we've got this sprite. Come on, select it. I'm trying to use the pen to do it. We've got this sprite. I've got this sprite, and I want to use the same palette on the two sprites. As much as I like the idea of being able to do what we were setting up here with the palette swap, at the same point, I'm wondering if it's just better overall for, sort of this asset production line to have a tool where I say, okay, here's PNG A, here's PNG B, and they go into a tool, and you say, okay, tool, I want them both to have the same palette, and they just it outputs, let's say B with the updated palette, right? Because I don't really need to see that. Like, once I see, I don't need to see it after the palette swap unless I want to change the two palettes. I guess where it becomes more handy is, but even then it's not that useful. I was going to say where it may become more useful is when I want to do things like dealing with the combined palettes or optimizing palettes across the whole map, so that we can make sure that we can swap them in and out having this tool do this in a visual editor, while it seems useful, again, I really feel like maybe it's only necessary to see the sprites and the meta tiles after they've been converted, and just for the purposes of modifying the palette. Because I know that, for example, if I don't convert, you know, this or this properly, you get a sprite that looks wrong or different. Yeah, I mean, it's always going to look a little different because of the palettes, but I want to be able to see what that actually maps to in the palette that I've defined as being the correct palette based on the FCEUX palette. Because what we were finding essentially was, when we were messing around with how the game was being played and implementing the collision and stuff like that, I spent an awful lot of time modifying the map and then going through the process of reopening it here, re-exporting it, rebuilding it. It'd be nice to have the tools to do that all just kind of be built into the build process using the make file. And then you could list the output as a dependency for the make file to use for building the ROM. I don't know. I think that's probably the right way to do it. And then, or not the right way, I mean, you do however you want, but I feel like that's the way that I want to do it. Just so that when we go modify images, or we, you know, even if we want to do something like we want to keep the ability to look at the meta tile, just load up a meta tile with the palette here and some of the buttons. And we can use this, you know, this interface stuff that I built here, or go to the MFC stuff, because that works fine too. I still want to be able to do this grid, right, where we can toggle collisions like we were doing with the mask there. That's useful. I still want to be able to save them. I think that's what I'm going to do. And I realize that it sounds like I'm kind of diverting a whole bunch of effort towards this stuff, which isn't really the 6502 game stuff, but I really do feel like I want to make it so that this process is as smooth as possible, so that in theory I could give this to an artist and say, okay, look, all you have to do is run the PNG through this converter tool and then open it up to view it, and you can change the palette colors. And once you're happy with that, save it out and then give me the .metatile file. I don't care about the PNG anymore. Well, I guess I do care about the PNG for the map itself in tiled, right? Because tiled doesn't know what the metatile file format is. It just is looking for it here to use on the map that I've built here, right? So there's that. And then even with this, even with the map, you know, I went with the JSON file, which is handy because I knew JSON and I knew how to parse it quickly in a C library that I had used before. But looking at it now, again, we have this extra step of, well, I've got to save it as a JSON file. And then the problem with that is that it's super clunky to do that because Tile does not handle the save as dialog properly, which seems stupid, like to me, that's the way it works. But You know, so we have this view, but we have an equivalent view by just opening this TMX file, which is just XML. It looks like it's basically the same thing. The only difference is it's comma separated values in here. It's super straightforward. I could use something like libxml to parse it just as easily in C and deal with it that way. And then again, just make that something that's a command line piece. You know, even if I make it driven from this asset tool, where we don't draw unless we're loading a specific meta tile, and just make it one sort of Uber tool. That might be the easiest way. That way I don't have to spend too much more time. I can stop with the refactoring I was doing, pulling everything out into a separate library. And then just get that. Get that to be command line driven. So let's do that. I think that's the right way to go. I'm not going to deal with libxml right now, just because if prior experience is any indication, getting it to build might prove to be similar to last week's experience with trying to get a static library to build properly, where it's just going to be an exercise in frustration and you don't need to see me lose my mind on stream again over stupid nonsense. So let's see. So this usage is wrong. Let's do this. So let's say that the first thing we want to do is we want to just have a bunch of options that we want to handle. So let's start with, we want to be able to export the map. We want to be able to convert PNG to meta tile. We want to be able to view meta tile. We want to convert PNG to sprite. We want to view the sprite. We want to, I think that's it. And then the major rework here. And the major rework here is export map should use tiled TMX file instead of exported JSON. And let's try and get at least part one of this going, since I wasted 50 minutes, well, 48 minutes based on the recording time of me messing around with the library, only to realize that that was a waste of time. Oh well, that's what happens. So should fix the usage. If you learn nothing else from me, you should learn that you should not be afraid to go back and change how things work if you think that it's going to be better. And sometimes you waste time doing it, but sometimes you need to waste the time to save the time, if that makes any sense. You need to waste the time figuring out what the best approach is by discarding other ideas you might have. Because if you try the first idea that you have thinking that you've come up with the best idea, most of the time there's a shortcoming you weren't aware of, unless you're just an amazing programmer and better than me at this. But most people I know, the first idea they come up with is not their best idea. They spend a lot of time justifying why it has to be the idea that they go with, even when they find major pitfalls with it. Things are worse for it. It would be better to just go back and rework it with another idea that you might have that might fix it, short of you spending like 6 months on it and then suddenly realizing that it was awful. Hopefully, I mean, generally you don't, I shouldn't say that. I don't want to assume, but most of the time when you're working on a project, if you're going through the motions of making sure that not only are you building the code, but that you're testing your performance and you have a target in mind of how it should run, why it should run that way, you know, a data set, you really need to have that in mind when you start. And if you do, generally you won't find that you have gone 6 months down the road on a path that sucks and is going to be awful. You can usually find out within a few weeks that you've messed up, and yeah, again, you know, it sucks. You wasted a few weeks, but better to waste a few weeks than put a platform out there that's not going to do what you want. And I'll use a concrete example of something, you know, I'm wasting time instead of coding, but I think it's worth talking about. At a previous job, we wanted to build a new platform for our product that we were working on. The original product was running on a straight database connection, doing some things you probably shouldn't do, like, you know, SQL queries liberally sprinkled throughout the whole code base because, you know, we were writing things really quick and didn't really think about the ramifications of that. And, you know, that's generally not something you want to do. You want to kind of have a abstraction layer of your data, or at least keep the data access stuff separate so that it's populating structures that you'd use in your business logic that has to do with the code that you're actually, you know, using to perform the tasks in your application. So we decided we wanted to not only fix that, but also rewrite our whole schema of how our data was organized. And it was a substantial rewrite. And we had written a whole bunch of tests and unit tests and examples of how to use the project, or how to use the new way of accessing the data without having a firm target in mind for what our expected performance was going to be, and how we knew that what we had done was successful. We basically focused purely on the implementation. Oops, bumped the mic, sorry. Focused purely on the implementation, and spent all of our time and effort trying to put together something to replace the old platform without comparing it to the new platform in terms of complexity, performance, scalability. And we were pretty far down the road when we found that once we had started building functionality on top of it, the performance was awful. And, you know, and it was, there were a lot of factors, but the biggest one in my mind was that we hadn't really established a firm goal in mind of what we thought were acceptable performance metrics, whereas before we were handling, you know, thousands, tens of thousands of records a second on the platform. The new way of accessing it was doing it in, you know, in the hundreds instead, which was a substantial decrease in performance. And on top of it, it was more complicated to do the slower data access. Now, thankfully, we were in a situation where we could go back and rewrite the data access layer that we had provided to the product because it was abstracted away from our business logic. So as long as we kept our inputs and outputs the same, it didn't really matter to the calling code how they were accessing it. It was the same thing, and that was a substantial effort to go back and rewrite it. And we did. We went back and rewrote the whole thing. But thankfully, we had also built a bunch of unit tests to prove out the initial model and the initial implementation. And so we put those unit tests on the new model. And, you know, of course, a bunch of stuff was broken after the first pass of the implementation. But at least we had something to gauge it by before we put the platform and the product on top of that. So, you know, we were fortunate that we were able to put together a new implementation underneath the product and delay the release primarily because my manager was amazing and was able to negotiate with upper management to to delay the release in order to make the performance acceptable. But yeah, it's always important to have that in mind, and better to work at it a little bit longer and be willing to discard ideas than assume that the first one you have is right with no way of knowing that, and then you're down the road a bit and you're in trouble. So, Infinite NES Lives, thanks. I'm glad that what I'm saying makes sense. All right, so here are arguments. We need to increase this because we want to have our command and then our file. So let's just do a real quick if string, let's make it insensitive compare argv1 export. I always forget exactly what the situation is with the, I believe 0 is the command that's being called, and then 1 is the first actual argument. So let's do this. Let's have a I think we want to just have a structure of so export. Is that how I want to do it? I feel like I want to do it that way because I want to have it just kind of run through what it needs to run through, and then use that structure to determine what pieces it actually runs through and does or doesn't do. I don't like this because well, I guess you could do export and then metatile. That's kind of stupid. Just do an enumeration of the action. Export, convert PNG metatile, convert PNG sprite, view metatile, something like that. And then that's our tool action. PNG to metatile, tool action equals convert PNG metatile. PNG to sprite. So what I think I'll do for the viewing stuff is I'll just, if you provide the argument, but it's not one of these commands, then we'll look at what kind of file it is, and we'll say, okay, so if is sprite argv1, then tool action equals view sprite. Yeah, I like that because that's kind of straightforward. You don't have to pass the argument. We figure out what you kind of want to do. you just pass the file name at that point. And then it'll open it up to be viewed, and then otherwise we have no idea what you're trying to do, so we'll just say error usage, and we should probably make a usage call, but we'll worry about that later. I hate these underscores. That should be string I compare. All right. So let's do this. All right, so yeah, it knows that we want to export. That's good. And then let's see. So if tool action equals export, we have argv2 copied in. So that should give us what we would see before. Good. So that didn't actually export anything. It just opened up the tool as it did previously. All right, so we've got all this stuff. If tool action is equal to view meta tile or tool action, you know what I want to do? Let's be even more programmery about it. I want to do them as bit mask, so I can do this. Come on. So if tool action and this or this doesn't equal 0. So if either of those two bits are set in tool action, or is this going to complain because it's not an integer? No, okay, good. Then I didn't think that was going to be a problem, but I don't remember. I don't remember everything. That's what Google is for. Used to be you had to remember most things because otherwise you had to go look it up in a book, and that always took a while. Or it'd be on the train commuting, and I had my laptop, and I didn't remember the commands that I needed, and you'd hope that you could figure it out without an internet connection. Tiger closed. Where is the... I thought there was a... Am I doing it over here somewhere? There it is. I thought I remembered a call to Tiger... Tiger window. Damn it. Can even do just do that. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to take all the UI stuff out for the export. So we do that, we do the load, we do our open stuff, we load the map, load the meta tiles. We do need that, I think, because we use that. Yeah. Alright, and then while Tiger closed, or no, actually, you know what? We'll just break out of this because that's what we're going to need to do. All right, so we can kind of wrap all of this UI stuff Whoa, okay, there's a lot of stuff, but that's all right. We don't need to do this anymore. So that is our stuff for the UI here being kind of separated out. And what I want to do is, let's see, where do we have? So we have all this export project stuff here in line. Let's make this a function call, which is what we should have done before, but we were busy working on it, so. All right. Let's do this. Oh, what do you want about here? Okay. So else if action equals tool, no, tool action equals export. Export map. I have no idea what I need to call. If screen, so if it's not null, do that, and then this should be interesting because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm sure it has dependencies on. But we'll see. Export map. Okay. So here we go. We need the map file full path. Makes sense. We don't need that to be something we pass, so let's make a sprite called current sprite. We're just reusing that in here just for the sake of expediency. What was that called? String format buffer. String format buffer. What did I... What was the size of that? I guess I don't need that in here anymore, so let's move that here. And we're just going to systematically eliminate these errors. So map file full path. It's complaining because it's not a const argument. I don't know that it needs to be. I'm always kind of on the fence about that. I've never... I can't say that I can count on more than one hand the number of times I've actually had that problem. It just never seems to be a problem that I have to deal with. So these all can get moved because now we're not loading the map in the UI anymore. So let's do that. We need the map buffer. I don't know why I ran the compile. I know it's not going to compile. Meta tiles. I guess we don't need that whole thing in here either, because all of this is related, I believe, to loading the map and exporting the map. So I'll just move that right on out. Map objects. You know, we may need those when we load the map project initially, but actually we don't have to do that either anymore, because that was only necessary for populating the list, which is going to go away. Okay, well that's cool too. We can pass the current working path, just in case that has to change at some point. Let's see here. Okay, good. So we're, wow, all right. That's not so bad. I guess we can keep that here. Initialize that. Didn't do that one. Okay. So realistically, we don't have to do this anymore, right? Because like that is being handled here when we do the export, and if we're not doing the export here, I think we can just, let's just F0 this out for a moment. Yeah. And then I don't think we need that either. This is no longer needed. Do I have two? No. Oh, I thought I had. Okay. Map file full path, current working path. Map buffer size. Oh, that's why I removed it from here, because don't need it there. That was here that I needed that. Map file full path, current working path. Okay. So map buffer size. It's not used anymore. Not used anymore. We're not doing this anymore. Let me comment this out just in case. Pretty sure we're not doing that anymore. Let me comment all of those out, because just in case. Saves us nothing. It harms us. Doesn't cost us anything to do that really, and it might be a lot of work to bring it back if I just obliterate it all. Okay, that was a lot less painful than I thought it was going to be. So let's set a breakpoint here in the anticipation of this being totally broken. And there, to make sure we actually get called there. And our first problem is... Oh, I see. Oh, okay. While... While tool action... Yeah, no. That should be... Just kind of reverse that. Wait, why did that... What didn't you like about that? While this... I want the if to occur first, and then, yeah, this gets moved outside of the while for if we're doing a non-screen related thing. That is our cleanup. That is the export. So we don't have to do a breakout to make that work. Let's put the breakpoint back there. Okay. So let's see. Here's the assets folder. Here is the here is entities.inc. So let's see what it does. What is the current working folder set to? Maybe it's not set to anything. Current working path, assets. All right, that looks... And it should have changed folders to... I believe it was changing folders based on... Yeah, it should be going to map file prefix. Let's see. Okay. Don't show me the content. Wait, Visual Studio. That's fine. Prefix. Map file prefix is undefined. Why? Am I out of that part? Oh, I guess I am. No. No, I'm not. Or I'm just not there yet. Where is the debugger? There it is. Oh. Is JSON map file full path. Okay, so that's empty. That's no good. Alright, well, there's your problem. Let's see. Map file full path. Where was that getting set? It's not. Load project. Map file full path. Where are you getting populated? There. No. I'll just do it right in the export, I guess. Max file name size. Let's do the max file folder name. Map file folder file full path. Yep. And then this is this, and this is this, and that, and that thing, and oh, token. No. Why do you need the token? Oh, because it's in the level. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Right. going to get the project. All right, so there's a slight hiccup in the way that I'm doing this, but that's okay. We'll fix that. Current, what is that called? Current working path. Really, let's just pass the project file name to it. I don't really feel like having to, I don't know why I did it that way. Project file name, here, you figure it out. That's no longer necessary. Map file full path. Oh, I know why I had done the other thing. Okay. Project file name. So I know why I had done the call to this and then use that to populate the name of the map file. It's because that was how we were. That's how we were figuring out what content to load into that list, but that list is going away. So that is not a problem any longer. All right. So, or it's less of a problem, let's say, because it will be a problem if the metatile file is not there. But for all intents and purposes, what we have right now is, okay, we can add an error message that the metatile file that we try to load for the map is missing, and let it exit out with a message about that. Before, we were letting it pass through without the metatile file being there because we were opening it up in essentially an editor that would allow us to create it, but now we're making it part of a larger sort of tool chain series of commands, so that is less acceptable. Let's do this. So now that we have the file name, system hooks, open text file, project file, and project file name. Come on. Text file handle, project file. And I still can't type. And okay, so we've got that, and then system hooks dot read all text. So what we do is we say project file. Wow, I still can't type. Not project fee or phi or whatever you want to call that. It's project file. Project file, we're going to pass a null buffer and a pointer to file size, because we will populate the file size here so that we can allocate it accordingly. It is one of the few places I want to do a malloc if possible. Trying to keep it without any memory allocations for, you know, the reasons of not having to deal with any memory leaks for anything with larger project files, but we'll see. The best laid plans, close text file, project file. This is wrong. This is project file content. Is a character pointer. Let's memset that bad boy just in case. always like to do that. Still can't type. And then system hooks, read all text, project file content, file size. And that should be a pointer, or the address to the thing. That should be an address. Okay, so we don't care about this anymore, right? Oh, we duplicated it here for the sake of not modifying the original. We don't care about that anymore, so let's just call this buffer. You shall be named buffer. Nope. Alright, so now what? String copy, yes. Oh, yeah. So max file name size is this thing, and then I think I have, what is this? Project file. I think that's max meta tiles. Where did I move that to? No, that's there. Oh, I just need it to be passing the address, not dereferencing it. Yes, okay. So that's that. I don't need to do this anymore, so that should have the proper full path to the file, sorry, to the project. It does. Let's step in, because I don't need that. Okay, so it is a JSON file, so let's now go through this part of the process, and that is all now going through the export process. Those files got updated, so I should be able to just let this run through to the end now. Cool, so just running that with that debug command line parameter, it just generates my new exported output. And as long as I didn't mess up too badly, if I drop that into my project folder and rebuild my source code, Explorer, get out of there. Syntax error. Syntax error, sprite, palette table. What broke? Where are my sprites at? Oh, I know where the sprites are. Okay, well, that is a slight bit of a problem, isn't it? So, the export map functionality is expecting there to be a list of files that it can iterate through. There is no list because I removed all of that. So let's fix that. So I've got to load the map. It's kind of gross. I've got to load the map to load the list to then export it. Why don't I just move this stuff out and call it a day? I'm not using this right. Okay, so export map. So the export is going to call, check that. Oh, it doesn't actually load. Oh, it does load the map. Oh, okay. For a second, I was like, wait a minute. Are we not loading the map? But we are. Okay, the one problem is that the order that this is being done is a little bit backwards. So let's do this. Let's take our code that we need, put it there. Let's I think this can all happen at the top. Or not. Export file name. Where are you defined? Oh, you're over here. Okay, so let's move that there. And just before I do, yeah. I think all of these probably can just get moved. Grab that. Okay. And all this prep work that we're doing for the folders and whatnot can all kind of move up to the top here and do that right away. So map file full path gets modified for... Okay, and then we get the parent, and that's the map file prefix, and then the map file prefix is modified to have export, and then we make that directory, and then we change to that directory. So that's good. This all happens within, if it's a JSON, we can move this. Oh, wow. Okay, hold on. Let's not do this and then all this other crap. Let's do this. If it is a JSON file, let's load the map. And if we've loaded the map, otherwise we fail out here. So if we load the map, then what we need to do is we need to handle all this other stuff for the list. This is not ideal. Wait a minute. That, I don't think I wanted that included, did I? Shoot. I want this part and this part for sure. So if we load the map, do this stuff. It's not that, it's this, and it's this. No, it's map objects. Wait, crap. Really? What am I... Ah, shit. Excuse me. I may have rearranged some of these things for nothing here, to some extent, but it's not the end of the world. Okay, so that was after the project is loaded that we do this. And then map meta tiles. Or is it both? It's both. This is, okay, this is only for, okay, so this is for the project. And then this is for when we load the map. Sorry, I did some of this all out of order. And as a result, it creates some weirdness. Okay, that actually looks to be right now. Except for this, because that's defined in a place that is after, and I don't have the forward definitions, so it has no idea what I'm trying to do. So let's move that so that it knows where the function call is. All right, do I have a breakpoint for export? Let's put it here and run. So we load the map, and okay, so its current item count is increasing. That's good. So let's see if we actually get... Oh, we get dot bin. That sounds wrong. Let's let's take everything else. Object.bin. Shoot. Were those there before? No. I thought this was going to be easy. That was my first mistake. Okay, so I just wanted to make sure it was consistently generating the same thing. So where or why is it generating a .bin file? Well, so much for my idea of keeping this short, but I'm feeling motivated to get this done, so gotta strike while the iron's hot. So let's see, where are we generating .bin files of any sort? That's okay. So the first thing with the object.bin would be here. Let's see. Map file prefix. Oh, is that what got messed up? It should be map1 object.bin. Did I? Map file prefix. Map file full path, remove file extension. Wait, copied it to that. Remove the file extension. Then it got the file name without the extension, and then it copied it into map file prefix, which is okay. And then map file prefix, why did I copy it into that? Oh, it string concatenates it. Oh, it doesn't copy it, which means that that should be populated with something that's actually correct. Before we do this, so this should now be, yeah, and that should be, yes, okay. So that fixed that problem. We have map1.bin, map1 okay, cool. So let's go copy that over, replace. Let's go back to our sprite palettes. Oops, no, don't open that. Okay, that's good. And that's good. No errors. Here we go. The moment of truth. All right. Almost. It spawned those two sprites, but they're not exactly right. So something something's still not 100%, but most of it is actually okay. If I crash into, yeah, that worked. So I just gotta figure out why. I'm not gonna do that today, but I gotta figure out why the flyby 1 and flyby 2 did not fly by, but instead exploded and phased out of existence. I don't know if I need that anymore. Leave that open. Well, that was an interesting sort of change of pace. I was not expecting to, mid-rewriting part of the way that the asset tool is working, rewrite it a different way. But that's okay. I think I'm happier with this approach than I was with the other one, because we'll be able to make it have those view modes for what I was talking about. We can add a mode. Oh, you know what we didn't put in here? We need a mode for palette swap, or palette override, I guess is a better, I won't put it in here, but palette replacement, yeah. Sprite A, sprite B, palette A into B. So we'll do that. And then, yeah. And then, you know, now that we'll have these be driven by command line, we'll be able to put this into the make file, so that as we update the source materials, we can rerun the appropriate tools. So for example, if we update, let's go into the assets file here, or folder, I should say. If we go into here and we say, okay, look at bullet.png, and in order to build that, or rather, you're going to say, I want to build bullet.sprite, and for that, the source is bullet.png, and if it changed, then it'll execute the NES asset tool to export a .sprite file using the command line, and that's going to be way more efficient. We can also, once I get libxml building, we will be able to reference this instead of this, which is what I should have done in the first place, but I didn't think it would be such a big deal. I mean, technically it's not, but it is a better workflow to just be able to save it in tiled and run the export. So that'll be for next Monday, because as I mentioned at the beginning, and I'll say it again, Bo from Soul Goose will be on the stream, and I'm excited to chat with him and see, you know, what his background is and why he started programming the NES. And seems like people really liked the interview with Kevin, and I'm just going to keep, you know, kind of sprinkling these out here in between programming streams. So as always, thank you for watching. I will see you next time. If you have any questions, you can reach me on Twitter at Clearvis. You can also email me or comment on the recording on YouTube. I try to get back to people as quickly as possible. I'm also on the Nintendo Age Discord. And have a great night, and see you Thursday. Take care. Thanks.